Welcome to the Winners Win podcast, the podcast that highlights awesome people in Kansas City and their secrets to success. I'm your host, Jaime Simpson. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of NetStandard right here in Kansas City. At NetStandard, we manage technology so that our clients can focus on growing their business. Today, my guest is Christa Johnson. Christa is the Vice President of Manufacturing and Operations for Digital Ally. Hi, thanks for joining us. I want to introduce Christa Johnson, who has many titles at Digital Ally. I'm learning about her many titles, but she is the Vice President of Operations and the Vice President of Manufacturing for Digital Ally. So for those of our listeners who are not familiar with Digital Ally, and why don't you tell us a little bit about what your role is and what Digital Ally does?
Sure. So Digital Ally is a video solutions company. We produce in-car video and body cameras for law enforcement, EMS, private security, and we also do video for commercial fleets. My role is VP of Operations and VP of Manufacturing at Digital, and so what that basically relates to is I keep the trains running on time.
What do you like about your job?
The people.
The people. What are you uniquely good at?
Managing the people, making the wheels on the bus go round and round. Like, I bring it all together, I facilitate. That's what I like.
So you're an integrator,
yeah.
Right? So you're good at making things move.
Making things happen.
What do you like about people?
The uniqueness. So everybody that walks into my office, I'm going to get something different from them. I'm never bored. Every day is something different. When I come in the morning, I have no idea what I'm doing that day, most of the time. And I can spend all day working through a contract, or I can spend all day putting out fires, or I can spend all day with HR saying, what did they do? So that's what I enjoy.
Yeah, that's great. So you're good at, you must be good at switching gears from one thing to another.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's probably number one job description, able to multitask, right?
Yeah, jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
Right. So you had an interesting path to your role at Digital Ally, and so can you tell us a little bit about what your role is now, but also how you got involved with Digital Ally and sort of how you've created this role for yourself?
Sure. So all in, I've been with Digital 15 years, right at 15 years. I actually started as executive assistant. We had 35 employees when I started, so we're a little over 100 right now. We've kind of fluctuated throughout the years. I've actually had several roles within the organization and several VP roles. In 2018, they asked me to take on VP of Operations, and then in 2021 I added VP of Manufacturing to that.
So what were some of your challenges as you took those roles? I mean, usually the reason somebody gets promoted into something is because there's something about you that made you a good fit for what those challenges were.
Yeah, so historically all of the roles that I had kind of been moved into, I stepped right into. They were pretty easy. The manufacturing one was different for me. It was the first time that I was really involved with something that side of the house, so to speak, that was a little bit more foreign to me. So the way that I approached it was I kind of went through with our production manager and sat down with our repair group, and I shadowed each one of those departments so that I could really, at the end of the day, understand what they were doing on a daily basis. I didn't feel like I could manage that without really embracing what it was that their pain points were, and to see if I could kind of help fix those pain points at some point. So that was really, I'm still getting there with that group, but it's been a challenge, and it's been a challenge that I've embraced. I feel like you, as a leader, you need to continue to be involved in what your people have going on, and make sure that you really understand what they're doing on a daily basis to try to assist them and to give them the most, what's the word I'm looking for? really just to be a support system for them. So.
Yeah, I think it can be challenging to figure out when you are taking on an area of resources that isn't what you did, right? You didn't come up through manufacturing. I think it can be challenging to learn about the role, and I'm sure that was difficult to feel like you had the information you needed to do the things you needed to do, but clearly they thought you did, right?
Yeah, I mean, normally I kind of, I don't want to say that I don't want to toot my own horn, but usually I excel pretty quickly. I normally am pretty comfortable in making things happen. And this was a time where it was really, I had never really dealt with inventory or ordering things overseas or any of those types of things. So that was really a new challenge for me. And when I finally sat down and I thought, okay, to your point, why did they put me in this role? What do I bring to this role? And I'm not an IT professional, and I'm not an engineer, which we're an engineering firm. I'm not even a salesperson, but at the end of the day, what I am is a people person, and I manage people well. And again, I excel at making the trains run on time. And I think that that's what I bring to the table. And that's what I've made my niche. I do have a background in HR. I have my senior certified
I saw that. Yeah.
certification, and I've written policies and I negotiate contracts, but at the end of the day, it's really about managing the people and empowering them, the people that are specialists in those areas, empowering them to do what they do and know that they've got the support behind them, that they've got somebody that's going to go to bat for them when they do have the struggles or they do have the things that they're not getting, that they need to be successful. And at the end of the day, making sure that all of those departments are coming together. I'm cutting through the minutia of all the different departments and bringing them on to the same page so that we can all get to the same common goal.
Yeah, I mean, that's similar to my role. I mean, I feel like a lot of times it's being a facilitator. What can I do to put them in a position to do their best at whatever that role is, and that's sort of what you're saying. Sure. Was there a moment in your career, or maybe it's in your personal life, that you can look back at and think, okay, this is the moment where I figured out that I'm good at this thing that I'm good at?
Yeah. Naturally, I tend to always be the one that brings it all together, whether that's at the kids' schools or in business, or I'm always the one in my group, in my friend group. I have a girlfriend and she is the CEO of a company, and she'll be the first one to say, well, I'm not going to deal with that because I know you'll have the answers for me, you'll have it ready to go. That's just kind of naturally my personality. Is I like bringing organization to chaos.
That's great. I think you've hit your superpower, or whatever it is that you're uniquely good at, when you can say something like that, and one, people recognize it about you, but two, it's like there's somebody else in the room that goes, oh, well, I'm not doing that. And then you realize, oh, good, well, I do this thing that not everybody's good at doing, right? So one of the things we talked about when we met a few weeks ago was that, you lead in an organization that's largely male, right? So you're an unusual, you do not look like everybody else in your organization, right? So what challenges has that presented to you? Is it an advantage? Is it a disadvantage?
So I think a lot of women struggle just by virtue of it being, kind of good old boys network and those types of things. I've been pretty lucky. I have dealt with that in my past, but for the most part, I think I've gained respect with the gentlemen in my office specifically. They know that I always tell people that my motto is say what you mean what you say. they know when they come to me or there's something on the table that I'm going to shoot them straight. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But they also know they're going to get action out of me. And so because of that, I think that not only my colleagues, but my actual employees that report into me have a level of respect. And it's not about whether or not I'm a woman or a man. It's about that I'm fair and they can respect the fact that they know exactly what I'm going to do and why I've made a decision. I've made it a point to make sure that if I'm saying no or I'm saying we can't do something, I'm telling them why. And more often than not, especially with employees that are reporting into you, they just want to know the why instead of upper management's just saying no or, and then they're talking about it under their breaths or whatever. So that's what I've tried to do.
Was there somebody in your life that was influential in how you approach those problems? Like, did you have a mentor, maybe a family member or something that led you to look at things that way?
So I've had several over the years. I will say, you brought up being in a male-dominated industry. Really, throughout all of my career, most of my mentors have been men. And I think what I've embraced in that world is that men are pretty good about making a decision and moving on. And that's probably what I've taken away from all of them. There's the petty underlying things that tend to unfortunately haunt a lot of women. I've been able to not live in that world by working with predominantly with men.
I tell people all the time because I get asked in IT a lot about the same question, right? Is, what's it like being a woman? Or I managed a team of women within an IT company first, and then I took men, and I'm sure that was a very strategic thing to do, and I'm not sure if it was the right thing to do, but that's how I kind of came up, and I've always liked it better because I do think that all women environments can be sort of that sort of stereotypically catty kind of. I mean, that said, I have plenty of women that I work with and think are great, but I do think I'm a straight shooter too. I mean, you and I have that in common, and I think it's sometimes, respect is earned by being somebody who follows through and does those things.
Well, and I also think as women we're doing better. In the early days, I'm going to show my age here, but in the early days, it was really difficult. Women did not lift each other up. Especially in companies like mine where there are very few. There was an attitude like there can only be one.
Yeah.
And I think we're doing better with that, and we are starting to empower one another and see that there can be room at the table for more than one. And I think for so many years we fought to be at the table that we definitely didn't want to take the chance of somebody else horning in. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's true. And I know from all the diversity and equity initiatives, I'm glad we have those conversations more openly now. We're still doing so many things wrong, and I certainly appreciate that my white femaleness is different than some of the challenges that our colleagues have that have other barriers, right? But I do think you're right. I think society has a tendency to set up that mentality that okay, well, we're going to have one or two at the table, but if you're not one of those one or two, well, then good luck, right? And it created that sort of backstabbing sort of environment, and I think it exists in all environments, but I think we give awards to there's specifically women's technologist awards,
Mm-hmm.
And I had a friend who is on the list of the best CIOs of the year. It's not the best women CIOs of the year. It's the best CIO of the year. And I think there's some value to that, right? I think I value that more than having to duke it out with my fellow women to decide which one of us women is the greatest this year, you know? And I know we do that in a way of, it was created to try to lift each other up, but it sometimes can take the other seat. Yeah, you kind of overcorrect the other way. But, you know, with what you do, give me an example of, or tell me about a great win you've had recently. Like, what's something you can look back on in your role and say, this was something that was really great? Are you good about that? Are you good about celebrating your own successes, or do you tend to just
I am not good at that. I am really good at lifting the team up, and I usually don't take the individual win. For me, it's always about the team. And as I said before, you know, these people are specialists in their areas for a reason. So, you know, I would say individually, something that I'm really proud of on an operational level within the last year is we did a 71,000 square foot build out. That was 100% my baby, and I'm very proud of the product that was on the table when it was done. And so it's a place that we're a technology company, and historically we have been in for lack of a better term, tired and not very technology looking companies. And when we did this build out, I had a vision that I wanted it to be something that if we were bringing in media or we were bringing in, you know, we have started to purchase several different types of companies. We have a ticketing company and we have a jet company now, and so we've kind of started to morph off. I stay on the video side, but there are, as Digital Ally as a whole has started to create these other companies, and I knew that going in that those were coming. And so I kind of wanted something that would not just be for the video side, that would really encompass all of our companies and all of our future companies that we would have and that everybody could be proud of. So that would probably be my
That's great. Yeah. Has anybody spilled coffee in there yet? That was the last time I did an office build out. That was the thing that I was like, the first time somebody spilled coffee, I was like, really? On my, so this is my coffee. This is mine. I can't spill anything.
So I am very, when I say it's my baby, it's my baby. I'm like, I hired a designer to design what goes on the walls. Don't start throwing stuff on the walls. You know, like I'm a little bit psycho about it. And I'm a little bit of a control freak, so we do provide cups for all the employees when they start, and they have lids on them with caps on them. So luckily, it's kind of been. That's
creative problem solving. Yeah. I mean, that's good. It's like, okay, I think sometimes adaptability is important, right? You have to go, okay, clearly you're going to carry your cup around, so I'm going to give you a lid, right? I got this. That's great.
Well, we had the years of, this is not my first build out. As I said, I've been with digital for over 15 years, so I've had some within my time there. And so I've done the coffee thing, and I've done and so I've learned to try to take the option out of everybody's hands.
So tell me, is there something that you're learning right now, or that you're actively trying to inform yourself with, and how do you go about learning something new?
So right now, when I took over the manufacturing side, I also brought in IT under my belt. And I know enough about IT to be dangerous. And so, you know, I have him reporting to me and that team reporting to me. And so it became important for me. We're in the process of doing two pretty significant system upgrades. And so I've really tried to absorb and jump into what that looks like. I've even tossed around maybe learning some coding at some point, but I really try to continue to expand my knowledge base again so that I'm more valuable to the company as a whole, but also to my teams.
That's great. Well, as we wrap up, give me an idea of what you and Digital Ally have planned in 2023. What's coming?
Well, for digital, we've got some exciting things coming. We're getting ready to launch some new product in the coming months, so we're pretty excited about that. And then for me personally, I've challenged myself with, in the coming year, stepping out of my comfort zone. So, sitting in for a
Here
podcast.
we are. Yeah. Good.
I also just accepted an invitation to join Pursuits, KC Pursuits. It's a
Driving Pursuits.
KC Driving Pursuits. Yes,
Right.
yes. So I just accepted that invitation. So I'm going to learn how to golf.
That's good. For those who don't know, KC Driving Pursuits is a group of women who decided that they were getting left out of discussions because they weren't on the golf course with all the guys. And so this group of women decided to learn golf, and it's become this massive networking pull here in Kansas City. And so that's great.
Yeah,
that's really fun.
I'm excited to do that in a fun atmosphere where it's not so networky, but you're still networking, if that makes sense.
Sometimes it's easier if you have something to do with yourself while you're networking, I think.
Right.
Yeah. No,
and
that's
beverage
good.
And, all that
Absolutely. I had just learned golf, and Christa and I have talked about this before in the last couple of years, but I do find sometimes a beverage helps loosen me up a little bit for golf. It's important. So that's my gift to you, is advice. Well, Christa, thank you so much for agreeing to get out of your comfort zone and be on my podcast. I hope you have a great day.
Thank you. You too. It was great.